Welcome to Beacon Radio with your host, Steve Teel. Beacon Radio, delivering hope, inspiration, and change. For more information about the Beacon, log on to sabeacon.com. And now, with this week's Beacon Radio, here's your host, Steve Teel.
Thank you, Roland Ruiz, the incomparable one. You know his voice. You're going to hear it in just a few minutes because we've got a very special guest today, Abby Grimaldi. Real quick, say hi, Abby.
Hey, guys. I'm excited to be here.
We're excited that you're here. I want to just catch our listeners up a little bit because there's a lot going on. In today's show, you're going to hear Abby Grimaldi. She has incredible pipes, but she also has passion for Jesus Christ. It's awesome. And she's also got a great personality. You got the trifecta there, the pipes, the passion, the personality. I want to catch you guys up a little bit. Daniel Gill, the American Ninja Warrior that we had on the show just a few weeks back, was in town in San Antonio. I got to go down there. I'm still exhausted because they filmed from midnight till 6 a.m., 2 nights in a row. And I don't even think we're allowed to talk about the results because they'll be on NBC in late May, early June. But I'll just say Daniel Gill does not disappoint. Great time. Also, the name Grimaldi sounds familiar. There's a good reason, and I bet your mother-in-law is sitting there thinking, well, yeah, it's familiar. Susie and and Harrison. We talked to Rocco Grimaldi of the Rampage, and just an outstanding young man. Then got to meet Abby and hear her music, and I just wanted her on the show as well. A reminder, you only have a few more games in San Antonio to catch Rocco in action. Tonight, 7 p.m. they play, and then just 2 more home games, I think. If I'm wrong, Roland or Abby will correct me. Also, today we talk with Mariah McManus and Andres Figueroa of Mosaic MSC. We talked to them very recently, so I want to air that interview first. But Tuesday night, Chris Tomlin Worship Night in America at the Freeman Coliseum. We've got to talk, listeners, to Big Daddy Weaves, Mike Weaver, Phil Wickham, and now Mosaic. And I just know this is going to be an incredible night of worship, so I hope to see you down there. It's going to be great. All right, we're going to take did you want to say anything about Mosaic? Because you're a fan, Abby, right?
Oh, big time. Yeah. So I discovered them in preseason. I was running a lot because we just had the hotel gyms during preseason. And my friend posted about Mosaic. I'd never heard of them. I listened and 2 songs in, my head goes, who is this voice? Mariah just has this knockout voice, kind of similar tone of me, and just can really belt. Amazing heart. Her father pastors the church.
Right,
and
Urban McManus, yeah.
So I quickly found her, and have been listening ever since, especially the song Tremble.
Okay, awesome. Awesome. All right, well, we'll have a couple clips. I'm not sure Tremble's one of them, but don't go away. We're going to take a quick break with our friends from Crossbridge, and we'll be right back with this great interview with Mosaic and then Abby Grimaldi.
God loves to include us in what He's doing. In fact, every day with God is kind of like take your kid to work day. He just loves to do things with us. I want to share with you a simple way to position your life so that God can include you. It's called Prayer, Care, Share. It's simple, and here's how you do it. You first begin to pray consistently for 4 or 5 people in your life. Just bring their names before the Lord and ask Him to include you in blessing them. Then look for ways to care genuinely for their needs, just ways to make their day better and to add value to their lives. When you consistently pray and care for people, almost 100% of the time, God will create an opportunity for you to share something of His love and encouragement with that person. It'll be powerful, it'll be personal, and it will be natural for you. So let's start praying and caring and sharing and watch God include us. Hey, this is Pastor Kirk Freeman. Check out our website at crossbridgecommunitychurch.com.
Beacon Radio, Steve Teel here. What a blessing. The last month, I've just got to talk to what I call young guns, just young people to me, since I'm in my very early 50s. And I mean, it's just a blessing when they're going hard after Christ. And I look and I see these young people and it's amazing. And this is no different. We're going to talk to Mosaic MSC. They're coming to the Freeman Coliseum on Chris Tomlin's Worship Night in America. April 4th, Tuesday night. That's just in a couple of days. I've been praying with people on this tour, Mike Weaver, Big Daddy Weave, Phil Wickham, and I am telling you, I'm sensing and feeling the power of the Holy Spirit. So I don't think you guys want to miss it. You want to be there. And I'm really excited to talk to Mariah McManus and Andres Figueroa. Is it Figueroa?
That's right.
Hey, welcome to Beacon Radio, guys.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Oh, man, it's such a blessing. Well, hey, I want to hear about, and this is always a good sign, and this is one of the reasons I'm really excited to talk to you guys. I was talking to, so I've got a daughter, 24, 23, and I've got a son, 18. And so I was going through who's coming on tour with Worship Night in America. And whenever my daughter, I say Mosaic MSC, she's like, oh, they're great. And whenever, my daughter says that, I know, oh my gosh, okay, something special is happening. So talk to me and talk to our listeners about Mosaic MSC, what God is doing, what's been going on. How have you guys got to this point? I know there's a lot to tell us.
Yeah. Well, about 4 years ago, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, we started writing music. And so that was kind of the first time we as Mosaic has really written music in like 20 years. My dad used to write music for the church and like lead worship and then put his guitar down and then speak. So he kind of was a one-man show a little bit.
Wow. Okay, and our listeners may not have made the connection. The church Mosaic, which I've been hearing about you guys for years and years, and your dad is Erwin McManus, who's famous kind of throughout the world. And so that's the church, and that's your dad, and so that's really cool. All right, sorry to interrupt, but go ahead, Mariah.
So then fast forward 20 years, and I've kind of stepped into the worship role, and we started writing music, and then met Andres, who came from Puerto Rico, and just kept the whole writing music, and that started exploding, and God started to do really, really cool things through that, and we got to do a couple of records, and then this last one just has been amazing. We've seen just amazing responses. A lot of people are playing some of these songs in their churches, which is the best thing ever, to know that something is happening so beautifully at your church that's kind of spreading to other people's churches. And it's just been a really amazing journey, and God's been doing some pretty crazy things here, and just excited to be able to put music to kind of what has been happening within our community.
Well, Mariah, did you resist along the way when you were coming to this spot to kind of step up to lead the worship and everything? You had kind of your own music going, right? Or do I misunderstand? You tell me.
Oh, yeah. I resisted hard. That was definitely a big part of my journey. And I just kind of I was a songwriter up until I kind of started doing this. And still, I still am, but that's what my life was kind of writing first, and like TV shows, and just doing that, and I loved it, and I felt God kind of calling me into this area, and then that was a battle, but I definitely felt it was very clear, and that I needed to step into that, and so that was a huge part of this whole journey, is sort of that fight with God and figuring out how my passion kind of fit into this role, and I think sometimes you can get called into something and you don't see why, or you don't see the benefit, or you don't really believe it at the time. And then God has this way of seeing that it's really has been your dream all along, and how it kind of expands your passions and your dreams even more so than I could have seen at the time. And I know that even now, 4 years later, God has opened up doors that I never thought I would walk through again, or I thought I had put a whole chapter of my life sort of behind me, and that's why kind of writing songs and stepping into this space with church has been so beautiful, because that's what I used to do, and that's what I loved and was so passionate about, and to be able to do that at the place that I love the most, with the mission that I love the most and believe in the most, has been the most rewarding thing.
So you've kind of been on a journey. Some resistance, some hard resistance. Was there something that finally convinced you, this is where God wants me? Or was it kind of a step-by-step process for you, Mariah?
I don't think I ever questioned that it was what God wanted me to do, or that's what God has called me to do. It was more my own personal struggle, I guess. There was never a question in that like calling, which is sort of where the resistance was maybe not wanting to obey right away. But yeah, it was just a personal thing, a thing where you kind of just had to maybe mourn a dream that you thought you had when God was like doing something so much bigger than you could ever see, and kind of seeing that dream come to life in a way that I didn't even know at the time.
Yeah, wow, that's cool, Mariah. Okay, and we're talking to Mosaic MSC, Mariah McManus, Andres Figueroa, and we're really excited. They're going on tour with Chris Tomlin's Worship Night in America. They're kicking it off here Tuesday night at the Freeman Coliseum. It's going to be amazing. I think the Spurs are playing that night next door, so it'd be really cool if everybody in the Freeman Coliseum was praising Jesus so loud that the Spurs were like, what's going on next door? But Mariah, and I'll have you think about this while we talk to Andres for a second, but is there, I want you to think about some advice that maybe someone that you could give, that someone's listening and they're kind of feeling like a resistance to what God is calling them to do. Maybe you have some advice for them. But Andres, tell us about the album, the new album, because this one's blowing up. I didn't know you had albums before this, but we're talking about Heartbeat, How Beautiful. We're talking about Tremble, some of the tracks like that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. These all of these songs have come together over the past year, probably a year and a half, I think. And it's, as Mariah was saying, it's been kind of just it's kind of telling our journey that we've had as a worship team and as a church, just as followers of Jesus, and then also just as a team and as musicians. Even though it's only been roughly 4 years, I think, of just us being a team and writing our own music, it has been such a crazy journey, and we've learned a whole lot about what it means to create worship music and what it means to write worship music together. And it's something that we're constantly experimenting with and trying out. And so the great thing about writing songs as a worship team is that we play them here for our church first. And so really it's the church that determines which ones work or which ones don't.
Yeah.
And those songs that you mentioned, Heartbeat, How Beautiful, Tremble, all of those songs, pretty much off the bat, the congregation just loved them. And, we're so into them and could worship so freely to them. So those were almost immediately like, yeah, that's going to be on the record for sure. And so yeah, it's been a beautiful experience, and we've had the privilege to writing with great writers such as Mia Fields and Matt Maher, also on that record, and we've learned a lot from them as well.
What kind of things have you learned? Yeah, those are obviously some big names and exciting. I mean, I just can't imagine the writing process. How many of you are actually sitting down and doing the writing? How's that work?
Well, for the most part, we do it here ourselves in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
What we've done a couple of times is we'll go on writing retreats, and that's probably the most productive. We'll just get together and we'll say there's like 8 of us, and then we divide into groups of 2 or 3, and then Mariah will be like, okay, everybody, you got half an hour or 45 minutes to try to write something, and then when that time's up, you move to a new partner.
Wow. And, it's like speed dating, only speed worship writing.
It really is. And what's incredible about that process is the different combinations and personalities of each of us on the team and how they'll produce just completely different things. And so yeah, we'll kind of go through something like that. Those are like our writing retreats, but really throughout the whole year, Mariah or myself, we're working on ideas constantly, and we're like sending them to each other, and we're like, what do you think about this? I need a chorus here. I need this line here. And so we're trying to just keep that energy and kind of that rhythm going.
Yeah.
But at the same time, still learning a lot. And also one thing we're trying to do is like broaden our worship writing, our songwriting community. Just bringing in other people that we trust in our church that have just been so faithful, and kind of like inviting them into that songwriting process and seeing what happens.
Awesome. All right, and we've got about a minute left. We're talking to Mosaic MSC. God is just taking them and just watch out. They're coming to San Antonio this Tuesday night at the Freeman Coliseum. God is in this. It's going to be tremendous. If you can get out there, get there. So, Mariah, can you just kind of close with giving some advice like I was talking about to someone who may be resisting God? Any advice or wisdom from your experience?
Yeah, I think for me, the kind of shifting point was I felt my dad actually gave a talk that his next book is based off of, and for me, I realized that I was sort of hoarding this trust and maybe commitment, and I didn't even know that I was keeping it, but I thought that I had given my whole life to Jesus.
Wow.
Obedience to Jesus, and I realized that I was kind of keeping a very small percentage of it to myself to feel that I was in somewhat of control still. And I think when I realized that I had to give even that maybe 10% to God, maybe that little piece of me that I had been holding on to, that's when I saw all of the things, and I know that God had been working so powerfully, but I wasn't able to see it because I was still trying to have control. And, when you let go of that, you start to see all of these beautiful things that God has done in your life and God is doing in your life, and what God is doing around you and in other people's lives. And I think that's really the thing that shifted me to kind of loving this and feeling that it's the most powerful thing I could ever do. And I knew that it was so important, and I knew that this was the best mission in the world, but to actually be able to enjoy it and to see all of the things and all of the rewards that God is changing people's lives. God is constantly, through Mosaic, so many people are raising their hands to accept Jesus. So many people are walking through our doors that have so many questions. And I think kind of giving that last piece of me to just say, I want to see this. I want to enjoy it. I want to know all of the beauty that God's doing around me. I think that's what really opened my eyes to it all.
Wow, Mariah, that was awesome. My goodness, I feel like you could just put some of those words to a song. That was just beautiful. Thank you for sharing that with us. Man, I don't think I've thought of it like that. Mariah, McManus, Andres Figueroa, that's Mosaic MSC. They got to get to rehearsal. They're going to blame it on me that they're late, and that's fine. But thank you guys so much for taking the time, and we're really excited that you guys are coming to San Antonio and going across America. It's really going to be awesome, and we just hope you get to enjoy the ride.
Thank you so much. We'll see you soon.
This is Beacon Radio. I'm your host, Steve Teel, delivering hope, inspiration, and change. We'll be right back. Listeners, Saturdays I get to talk to these great difference makers, and then on Sunday I get to pastor difference makers at Momentum Bible Church. Great people like our children's ministry leaders Rosie Carrasco, Anaya Smith, Hope Cornwell, my wife Chris, and many others loving and teaching kids. What a blessing. We meet at Cibolo Green Elementary School Sundays at 10 a.m. out by Johnson High School. MomentumBibleChurch.com has directions. Hope to see you tomorrow, 10 a.m.
Beacon Radio is part of the San Antonio Beacon newspaper, and you can read it right now at sabeacon.com. For over 15 years, the Beacon newspaper has been delivering hope, inspiration, and change. And now you can read radio interview excerpts from Matt Powell of Third Day, Sadie Robertson of Duck Dynasty, Kenny Wilson of Haven for Hope, and Joel Smallbone of For King and Country, and many other great features. Go to sabeacon.com for the newspaper.
Be my desire, be my love, holy seek and strive to follow, set my heart on things above, be my hope, be my strength, may the fountain of my spirit overflow with faithfulness. Be my desire, be my love, holy seek and strive to follow, set my heart on things above, be my hope, be my strength, may the fountain of my spirit overflow with faithfulness.
Oh, yeah. Wow. And I want you guys to hear more of that song. So maybe out of our little conversation here, our segment here. Golly, that is beautiful. Abby Grimaldi, welcome to Beacon Radio.
Thanks.
Man, that song is just, you're amazing.
Thank you so
You're
much.
amazing. Well, start off, just tell us about that song a little bit, and we're going to talk about Abby's testimony, talk a little bit about being a hockey wife and Rocco Grimaldi and all that, but she's got a great testimony and just beautiful music. So tell us a little bit about that song.
Sure. Well, I worked at a Bible camp all through high school, and that was like I'd spend the weekends at the piano writing and stuff, and just kind of, I don't know, trying to find my way as a songwriter. And that was the first song I wrote that really was like, wow, this is like a real song. We had a brand new grand piano in our home, and
Grand piano.
The school was like burning. My high school was burning down. Like the new edition of it was like having a fire, so we all had to go home early. It was okay.
Oh,
But-
okay.
So we had to go home early from school, and I was home alone. And I only really write when I'm home alone because it's awkward to be creative when people are listening.
Right.
And so my parents came home, and I was like, I gotta show you something. And it like changes key in the middle, and it was kind of just this. I wrote it in 45 minutes.
Wow.
Like it was just so like, thank you, God. I think this is from you. And it was in that instance that my dad was like, wow, Abby, you're a songwriter. You can do this. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, that is really cool. And I'm excited. We're going to be playing off of her first EP, a total of 5 songs. We'll be playing clips, so you guys stick around for that. So Abby Grimaldi, I met through Rocco Grimaldi, and not only Abby, but her mother-in-law, Susie, and father-in-law, Harrison, as he's sometimes affectionately known. I wish I could get to know your parents because they sound like great people, too.
Yeah, well, they're sweet. Up in North Dakota, living in the coldest city in America.
Right. A little bit chilly. All right, here's how I want to start. I want to hear, and I know it's going to take more than this segment, but let's start talking about your testimony because I think you and Rocco just have a great story. I refer to Rocco as a great American sports story, but I think you all are a great American love story.
Thank
and so yeah, tell us some about your testimony.
Sure. Well, I was raised in a Christian home, similar to Rocco, and Sunday school, everything, good church kid, and I knew all the books of the Bible, everything. But it wasn't until I was maybe 15 that my soul was really set on fire for this relationship with Jesus and this passion of music and this pursuit of a ministry of my own kind of thing. I was sort of following in the shadows of my older sister. They no one placed me there, but I was kind of like, oh, she does this, I'll do this. So she's we were good at the same things growing up. So kind of just found my identity by following her example, which was a really good example, thankfully. But by the time I was 15, I really thought, wow, I've got this crazy personality, but God can use that. He can channel my, I was a dorky kid. God can channel that passion.
You were a dorky kid?
Good,
tell us about
big
that.
Time.
How so? How were you a dorky kid, Abby?
Well, when you get glasses when you're 2, and then, glasses back in the 90s, I'm like a 94 baby. Glasses were, they left indents on my face. They were big.
Yeah.
I had bangs, I just had a lot of personality. And so I was very chatty. It wasn't always the coolest. But, I look now and I found myself doing pageants in college. And now I'm really into hair and makeup, and pink is my power color. It's funny how things can change.
Right. Okay, so you're growing up. You're a little bit talkative at the time.
Yeah.
So what kind of, with your peers and stuff growing up, were you one of the popular kids? Were you one of the kids not so much? In between? What was that like?
I think I was kind of in between.
Okay.
I was never a bullied, super bullied kid, but I was definitely never a really popular kid. I always wanted to be really cool. I always kind of longed to fit into this oh, everyone thinks I'm so cool thing. But I wasn't awesome at sports. I was into dance, but I didn't get really good at it until high school. And I kind of owned it. I was a geek. I was really good at math and music, and I don't know.
You owned it?
Yeah, I was fine with that.
Okay, so how at that young an age, did you really get the faith in Jesus? Like a lot of kids when they're growing up, they go to church and they're they kind of borrow their parents' faith, and then sometime down the road they get it. How did you get it?
Yeah, well, I remember being summer after 8th grade, I was attending this Bible camp. It's called Cooperstown Bible Camp, and I was sitting up in my bunk at 2 a.m., and it just struck me that I can work at camp next summer, and that's what I was supposed to do. And I kid you not, everyone else was sleeping. I was beaming, sitting up in my bunk, wow, God, you're so real to me. And I've never felt so much joy. And so I decided to work at camp the next summer. And wouldn't you know, that's when my life completely changed. Started reading the Bible. That's the big thing.
Yeah.
And got mentorship. I found myself in Christ. it was really amazing.
Wow, that is amazing. So, all right. So then, what happened next? We've got about a minute until I want to play a little bit more of that song.
Cool.
So, what happened next with your faith and your relationship? You come back from camp. I mean, are you still kind of on fire and everything, or?
Yeah, and it was hard because I had so much passion inside, and like no one else did.
Yeah.
And so like my best friends became like one of my bridesmaids. Her name is Catherine. She lived an hour away. And so I was just texting these friends all the time because when I went back to my hometown, I had some Christian friends, but, you know, they don't really get you that way. And, I mean, I had a teacher come up to me and say, like, wow, you really changed a lot over the summer.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you have no idea. It's like a total spiritual transformation.
Right.
It was
All
amazing.
All right. This is Steve Teel, Beacon Radio, delivering hope, inspiration, and change. We're having a great time with Abby Grimaldi. We've got a lot more to talk about. We're going to take our halftime break after you hear this beautiful music.